These recipes are goated. No cap.
No, you need to say no cap sooner.
Okay. These recipes are goated. No cap.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, what's that mean?
No cap means it's true.
Okay, so these are the best recipes. No lie, right? These recipes are goated. No cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. All right, so per my kids, these are the best recipes ever. Today we are making a Korean beef taco, which is delicious. You are not going to want to miss this recipe. We're also making Maid-Rites, which some of you have probably never heard of, but it's delicious, just trust me. Pork Pozole, which is a pork and hominy stew. It is highly, highly delicious, and I have never made a recipe that was this quick and this delicious for pozole, so please stay tuned for that. I'm also making a honey garlic pork tenderloin, which is so good. Like the sauce, I could just like put it on top of mashed potatoes and eat it forever. So you're not gonna want to miss this. Let's go. All right, so first up, we are making a recipe I'm really excited about. So this is a Korean beef taco with shredded beef. I actually have a recipe in my cookbook for a Korean beef taco using ground beef, and it's really good, so I'm excited to try this variation. So I've got my slow cooker here. I have a 3-pound rump roast. You could use chuck roast or arm roast. I've also got some brown sugar, some tortillas for serving, beef broth, some tamari, or you could also use soy sauce. This is a mixture of sesame oil and rice vinegar, some garlic, some ginger, and then we're also going to make a slaw with some purple cabbage to go on top of it. So I've got purple cabbage, carrots, green onions, and a couple of limes. So I really think for this recipe you could also use sirloin. I've done sirloin in the slow cooker before and it turns out great. It shreds basically just like a roast would. So I'm going to go ahead and add my brown sugar, and I'm not going to add any salt to the beef, and I'll tell you why. Normally you want to season a roast really well, but we're adding half a cup of soy sauce or tamari to this, and that's quite a lot of salt. So definitely better to err on the side of caution. If we need to add more salt after it's cooked, we definitely can. I'm gonna add my 1 cup of beef broth, and then this is that combination of rice vinegar and sesame oil. You could probably throw the garlic cloves in whole, but I'm gonna take the time to crush them because I feel like it's going to mix into the shredded beef and the sauce a little bit better. Okay, and then ginger root. So I don't know, I don't even bother peeling this because most of the time when you grate it, the peel comes right off anyway. If you don't want to mess with grating fresh ginger, you can also buy the ginger paste in the produce section. It's actually really good. I've purchased it lots of times before. Okay, now that's it. So if you were going to make this into a freezer meal, basically these would be all of the ingredients that you would place inside your freezer bag, and then you would stick this in obviously the freezer, and then when you were ready to cook it, you would just pop it into the slow cooker. So you can either cook this on low for 8 to 10 hours or high for 3 to 4 hours. I'm actually going to start mine on high, and then once it gets going for a couple hours, I am going to turn it down to low and let it cook the rest of the day. Many of the ingredients that I'm featuring in today's video came from Misfits Market, and I'm really excited to be working with them again here on my channel. Thank you to Misfits Market for sponsoring today's video. If you guys aren't familiar with them, they are an affordable online grocery store, and their goal is to help break the cycle of food waste. It's definitely your one-stop shop for discounted, responsibly sourced, high-quality groceries, everything from weekly staples to limited time finds, and they're all delivered straight to your door for up to 40% off grocery store prices. I have used their services for a long time, and I'm honestly really impressed with the selection that they have on their site. Obviously, food continues to hit record highs with prices with no relief in sight, and they continue to offer consistent value to shoppers with their everyday savings and more. But bonus, you'll also save money on gas by not having to go to the grocery store. Shopping with Misfits Market is more affordable and saves you time and money and it also makes eating on a budget fun and is a challenge you can enjoy because you get more groceries than you would expect, and you definitely don't have to sacrifice quality. Misfits Market works directly with farmers and food producers, so they put the work in to save you money. You can stock up on pantry staples, brands that you know and love, seasonal produce, high quality meat, seafood, and plant-based proteins. Obviously, all of that and more, everything you need is in one place. I definitely suggest that you guys try Misfits Market, and they're offering my viewers a discount, so definitely take advantage of that. You can go to the link in my description box below and use code Chapin15 to save $15 off your first Misfits Market order. That's Chapin15, CHAPIN15, and you are going to get $15 off your first Misfits Market order. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. I'll have all the information down below. Here's what my beef looked like after I let it cook all day. You want to make sure that you let it cook until it shreds easily. If you stick a fork in there and try to shred it and it doesn't shred easily, that means it needs to cook for a little bit longer. This was a large chunk of meat, so it did take about 9 hours. I'm just going to let that beef sit in the juices inside the crock pot on warm. And I didn't even have to remove it. I just shredded it right in there with my tongs. So I'm chopping up some red cabbage along with some green onions. This is going to be basically just a really simple slaw to serve on top of the Korean style beef tacos. I shredded up a couple of carrots. I'm adding some lime juice to the bowl. And then I also added some honey. You can also use brown sugar, salt, pepper, some sesame oil, and a little bit of olive oil, and gave that a toss. You could definitely make this slaw component ahead of time, especially if you were turning these into freezer meals. This is something that would hold in your fridge for probably, I would say, a good 5 days since it's cabbage based. And here is how I served these. I added some of the shredded beef to some flour tortillas. You could use corn if you prefer. I added some of the slaw, some limes on the side, and then I just made a quick sriracha sour cream, drizzled that over the top, added some cilantro leaves, and you guys definitely have to try this recipe because it is super delicious. Okay, the next recipe that I'm sharing with you guys is something I have made a lot, and you may not know what it is if you don't live in small town Iowa, but we are making what is known as Maid-Rites. It is also sometimes known as a loose meat sandwich. Either way, it's delicious. It's basically a sloppy joe, kind of without the tomato sauce. I know, just bear with me. It might sound kind of weird, but it's really, really good. So what I've got here is 2 pounds of the grass-fed ground beef that I got from Misfits Market. It's 80/20 and it's from the Meadow Reserve brand, so really good quality. I've got some brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of beef bouillon, and 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon. I've got some soy sauce, apple cider vinegar, some minced onion. You definitely want to use this for the authentic Maid-Rite flavor. And then we've also got some Worcestershire sauce and some water. So I should also mention that obviously you're gonna want some, hamburger buns to serve these on. You can also just eat them with a salad if you want a low carb option, or a burger bowl, and then whatever toppings that you want. The most common, I would say, are ketchup, mustard, pickle. They do also have a cheese right, so you can add cheese to them. So I'm gonna go ahead and combine all of my liquid ingredients in the crock pot first so that I can get those mixed up. I wanna make sure that they're thoroughly combined together. So I added my water, brown sugar. I'm gonna add the chicken and the beef bouillon, my apple cider vinegar, the soy sauce, minced onion, and the Worcestershire sauce. Give that a quick whisk. So I put my ground beef in here, and some people are a little bit, off-put by cooking ground beef in a crock pot from a raw state, but never fear. This is actually what gives the Maid-Rite sandwich. It's really sort of like tender, fine consistency, almost like how you get tacos at a fast food restaurant or, a Tex-Mex restaurant. Don't worry. It's all just Just trust me, it's all gonna work out fine. Okay, so I'm gonna put this on high and let this cook for about an hour, hour and a half. I'm gonna come back and stir it, and then we'll let it simmer for another 2 to 3 hours. About 4 hours on high is what you need for this. One thing I forgot to mention about making this a freezer meal, this is obviously everything that you would combine in your freezer bag. I would probably whisk all of the liquid, you know, and spices and those ingredients together first. Put them in your freezer bag along with the 2 pounds of ground beef, and then stick it in the freezer. When you're ready to make it, all you have to do is thaw it out a little bit and dump it into your slow cooker. Okay, so I let the beef cook for about 3 to 4 hours on high, and once it was done, I did skim most of the fat off of the top, leaving a little bit of the liquid in there. So basically you can just serve these on buns with ketchup, mustard, pickle. You could also add onions or cheese. You can add fries on the side or chips like I did, but definitely try this. Very unique and really delicious as well. Okay, so we're gonna make some honey garlic pork tenderloin. This makes a great freezer meal also, but it is an Instant Pot meal as well. So I've got 2 pork tenderloins. I'm going to be cutting those into medallions. I've got some maple syrup. This is from the odds and ends line from Misfits Market. Some beef broth, some mirin. This is 4 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I've got 8 cloves of garlic, some hoisin, which is sort of like a Chinese barbecue sauce. It's pretty sweet, so that will balance the balsamic vinegar. I've also got some honey, and then for spices, I've got some salt, pepper, a little bit of cinnamon, paprika, and a little bit of anise. Okay, so to our Instant Pot, I'm gonna go ahead and add my beef broth. I'm gonna mix up all of the liquid ingredients and spices in the bottom first so I can make sure that they're well combined. 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm also gonna add some soy sauce, which I forgot to mention, balsamic vinegar, mirin. I'm gonna add our hoisin sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and add the garlic. That requires some strength. I'm gonna put it through my garlic press. If you're a garlic lover, this one is definitely for you. Okay, I'm gonna add about 1/3 of a cup of honey. I'm not gonna measure because I don't feel like trying to wash a measuring cup. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add all of my seasonings and then give that a whisk. So last step is to add our pork medallions. I sliced these into about 1-inch rounds. And what I'm gonna do is just try to mix this in so all the pork is submerged. Now at this point, if you were wanting to make this a freezer meal, this is how you would put everything together in your freezer bag, and then you would freeze it when you're ready to cook it. Defrost it or partially thaw it out, and then pop it in your Instant Pot. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on this, and then we're gonna cook this on high pressure for 8 minutes. This Instant Pot actually has a reminder for a natural pressure release, so I'm gonna set that at 10 minutes. Okay, so here is our honey garlic pork tenderloin after it has cooked. I tasted the sauce. It is so good. So what I'm gonna do now is turn this to saute because we wanna thicken up the sauce. So I turned it on saute, and in this bowl, I've got 3 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with 3 tablespoons of cold water. Shouldn't take long for this to thicken up. I guess you could take the pork out if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna leave it in there. I feel like it's unnecessary because basically as soon as this comes up to a boil, we'll have a thickened sauce, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna serve it. Okay, so I brought this to a simmer, and you can see that it thickened right up. So this is what you want it to look like. You want it to be like a gravy, and you want obviously the pork to be coated. So delicious. I'm going to show you how I'm going to serve it. All right, so here is how the honey garlic pork tenderloin turned out. I love this recipe, and the sauce is delicious. So you definitely want to serve it with something to soak that up. I just have some rice and grain blend, and then also have some broccolini. I think this would be really great with mashed potatoes or plain rice or egg noodles, anything really to soak up that sauce, but definitely recommend this recipe. And the pork, I know that sometimes, you know, when you cook pork tenderloin, it can be kind of tough. This is actually really tender. You can just cut it with your fork and definitely serve it with some of that extra sauce. Okay, so we are making Instant Pot Pozole, and if you've ever made pozole before, you know that it is sort of a labor of love, but this is an Instant Pot recipe, so I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit simpler. So over here I've got some hominy, 3 cans of that. I've got a carton of the chicken broth from Misfits Market, some diced green chilies. I've got a bunch of different spices in here, seasoned salt, garlic powder, oregano, chili powder, pepper, bay leaves. I've got 1 poblano pepper, an onion I'm going to dice up, some jalapenos, 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke, some garlic cloves, and then I've got about 3 pounds of boneless pork ribs, which I'm going to leave whole and then go ahead and shred those after they're cooked. And then in here, I've got some guajillo chilies. This is about 4 ounces. I have de-seeded these and taken the stems off and rinsed them. Okay, so I've got my boneless pork ribs in the Instant Pot. I'm gonna add my diced green chilies, jalapeno, liquid smoke, garlic. I've got a ton of spices here and 2 bay leaves. So I'm gonna add those. And then we're gonna add 4 cups of chicken stock, or you could use beef stock or vegetable stock, or probably even water and just add a little extra salt. We're gonna add our hominy. This is white hominy that I've rinsed and drained. I prefer white instead of yellow, but in a pinch you can also use yellow as well. Okay, so I'm adding my poblano pepper. I went ahead and took the seeds out of that and diced it up. Okay, so adding my chopped onion. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a stir. I just wanna make sure that everything is pretty well combined and the pork is covered. Okay, so for the chilies, what we're gonna do is just lay those on top of everything, but we're not gonna stir them in, because when this is done, we're actually gonna remove these and puree them. That's what gives the pozole its awesome flavor. So just leave them like that. And if you're afraid to cook with dried chilies, don't be. It's just like anything else. Once you do it once, it's good to go. Okay, and then I'm gonna cook this on high pressure or manual for 35 minutes. Okay, so you can see that the chilies are cooked now. What I'm gonna do is I've got my food processor bowl right here, and I'm gonna take the cooked chilies and transfer them to that. Okay, and then I'm also going to remove the pork pieces so I can shred those up. Okay, and then just make sure that you remove the bay leaves as well, which I got those with the pork. Okay, so I've got my chilies in here. I transferred 2 cups of the broth from the Instant Pot into here. I added 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm gonna add just about a tablespoon of salt. And then I'm just gonna puree this until it's totally smooth. Okay, so what we're gonna do is transfer the chili paste into a strainer that I've got set over the Instant Pot here. Don't skip this step. I would recommend straining it because you are obviously gonna get bits of the chili sort of peel in there, and it's a lot smoother and tastes a lot better if you take the time to strain it. So if you just set it over there and stir it every so often, it'll probably take about 5 to 10 minutes, but eventually all of the chili, puree will drain through. Okay, so here's what it looks like after you get all of the liquid out of the chilies. You're just kind of left with a little bit of paste that's mostly the skin. So you want to go ahead and discard that. And then I did shred up the pork, so I'm just going to go ahead and return that to the soup, and we'll let it rest for about 10 minutes before we check it for seasoning. Okay, so here is the finished soup. I tasted it. It's perfect. I would not add anything, but definitely season it to taste with salt and pepper. You could also add some hot sauce if you wanted it hotter, but this is perfect to me. So you can top your pozole with whatever you'd like. Traditionally, there's a little bit of shredded raw cabbage on top. You can also add crema or sour cream. Some people like sliced radishes, cilantro, and lime. But here's how we had ours. This recipe is so delicious, and it was a lot easier than the traditional pozole that I've made previously. So this one is definitely a keeper, and I will totally be making it again. All right, so thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Here are 2 videos right here, 2 meal prep videos, which I think you would really like. Also, don't forget to check out Misfits Market. I'll have their information in the description box below. Don't forget to check it out. I will see you in my next video. Bye.